the Public Works Chairperson. Let's go around the room and do a quick roll call, starting with Nick.
Nick Dooms, Assistant City Engineer.
Paul Fowler, Public Works Superintendent.
Sherry Evanson, District 5.
Dennis Pollock, District 6.
Jay Bemke, District 8.
Shane Blazer, Mayor.
The meeting is now called to order at 5:16 PM. Item 2, review the Engineering and Street Department monthly activity report. Go ahead and kick us off, Paul.
All right, the report is attached. Garbage and collection, we are down about 25 tons from 2022. Our recycling, we're up about 7 tons, so that may simply be just the way that the calendar falls. Construction projects, all that activity is on hold until the springtime. Our street maintenance activities, we've battled some different snow and ice events here over the last month. Took delivery of 800 tons of salt, which is 60% of what our annual allocation is. We've worked with the Parks Department trimming trees and things like that along the bike trails. Wingback snow when we've needed to due to blowing and drifting. We assisted the Parks Department in repairing the drywall in the, I believe that would be the south stairwell. That was damaged when a valve on a radiant heater broke. Did our annual Christmas tree pickup. Assisted Kafka currently with grinding our brush piles from the 2 different compost sites, and then eventually they'll also be going to the new proposed dog park. We also took our construction crew up to the dog park, and I'm guessing it was back in 2019. There was about 5 to 6 acres of trees that were blown down on that property, so we prepared that for Kafka Construction to come in and grind that. And that should be taking place here later this week or first part of next week. We also then started to grade the stormwater retention pond and the parking lot for that dog park. And now we're just waiting for different approvals to happen so that we can add the gravel to that parking lot and then go back in the spring of the year and do some more finish grading when the ground's not frozen. Our sign shop, we're running with 1 staff, sometimes 2 down there. So they installed the pedestrian crossing sign at Baker Street for the Wood County Courthouse. Repaired some damaged signs that were hit during snow events. We also have a list of regulatory signs that need to be replaced on a 10-year cycle, so they've started with some of that. And then they took down the Christmas decorations in the first half of January, and then also replaced the banners. Our shop then, with the different snow events, has been fixing some worn out steel. We also, at the end of December, we had a grader blow an engine. And so they spent the first 2 weeks of January putting that back together, and that has been running now, I think, for about a week and a half. So we were able to use it on the last snow event. We had to repair the packer on one of our oldest garbage trucks, and then we also took delivery of a couple pickup trucks, and a third one is getting delivered tomorrow. And with that, that's our report.
All right. Any questions for Paul on the Street Department report? Dennis?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. On that salt, is your supply looking pretty good at the moment?
Yes, we started off the year with our salt supply is always kind of a poke and hope type thing, because we have to apply for, so like in March of 2023, I have to apply for salt for the 2024 season, because that's through the state of Wisconsin DOT. And so, annually we typically use about the same amount of salt. This year we started off with 1,900 tons sitting in our shed, so that's our full year's allotment. And so, yeah, we should be fine. We probably had 200 tons left from that 1,900 tons that we started the season with. And so our annual allotment is 1,200 tons, because I didn't want to be overflowing at the end of the year. So we took a little bit of a chance of not having too much at the end of the year, but yes, we should be fine. You know, the joy of it is that it hasn't been very cold in years past. Ours comes out of Green Bay, and so in years past, the bay has frozen over hard enough where they can't get the barges in there anymore. And obviously this year with the mild winter, that's not a case at all, so we have no issue with getting our full allotment of salt.
Okay, Paul, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sherry?
Thank you. I had a couple calls regarding the new street lights going over Jackson Street to the roundabout in Down Grand. Noticed that they're not on yet, obviously. I mean, I know it's winter time and anything, but any update on those? Thank you.
So it's my understanding, because I too, number one, asked Joe Eichstad the question, because there's some of them that are on, and then there's some of them that aren't, and I asked the question as well. It's my understanding that they are not all gonna be on the same circuit, and so I believe that they're waiting for a control cabinet to be delivered. Once that's there, then the whole thing will be lit then, so.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions for Paul? All right, Nick, take us into engineering.
So I'll cover the few things that I'm kind of working on that I can speak about here. So the 2023 reconstruction projects that we will be working on this summer, we are wrapping up design. Actually, design has been finished. We're doing some CAD work, some tweaking on the plans. We did send them out recently to the utility companies in the area, to city staff for review. We uploaded them onto our city website. So we were calling them 95% done. We're just tweaking a few things here and there based on the comments that we get. We'll also be having a pre-construction meeting with the utility companies in about a month from now, just to go over some of the details of the plans and maybe make a few tweaks to the plans based on that meeting. But we're pretty much wrapped up with everything for 2023. Contracts, we have our asphalt contract and our concrete contract that we are pushing for a bid opening before our next Public Works meeting here in March. So contracts are looking pretty good with that. That should not be a problem for opening those up in March. Design on our 2024 projects, we have been inching along with that as well. Most of our efforts have been just making sure that we're all set for this year's construction, wrapping up our permits and plans for this year. Stormwater utility, one other thing to add, kind of a miscellaneous project, the 1 Mile Creek project. We've been working on getting sediment sampling for the DNR. So that work has been completed. We're working with the DNR just to finish our pre-application. Once they're kind of satisfied with what they've seen with that, then we can move on to our actual dredging permit with the DNR. So we're hoping that over this last hurdle that we're working on, that we can really move forward with that project and get things moving again. So that's all I got for engineering.
All right, questions for Nick? Mr. Bemke?
Nick, the dredging project, I'm assuming next winter?
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the permit and how things will move along. The DNR is very unpredictable with this, but I really think probably in the next couple months we can really make hay, and yeah, maybe later this fall, winter, yeah, we'd be looking at doing the dredging.
Are you gonna do it like you did the last one on the off the ice?
I would lean on Paul with that one.
That's fine.
Haven't really seen, I mean, I know that one, that was done, I think, last time in the late 90s. And I know a couple of the guys that were involved with that. And I think they just got it dry and then they pushed it with a dozer and then loaded it out with an excavator. So I think a lot of it's gonna depend on what is done with that middle dam or not done type thing, so. But yeah, ice probably be maybe the easiest way to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Nick? All right, we'll move on to item 3, review and consider a state municipal financial agreement for the reconstruction of 8th Street South from Whitrock Ave to East Riverview Expressway. Nick?
Yeah, so, kind of the DNR, the DOT, obviously rates connecting highways throughout the state, and this 8th Street is obviously one of them. So from Whitrock to Taylor, which is essentially the expressway, the DOT is interested in moving forward with an agreement with the city, and this would be a continuation of what was already signed from Whitrock to the south city limits. So this would take it from Whitrock all the way to the expressway, and just would be approving the municipal state financial agreement. So some of the details with it, we'd be looking at city participation would be very low on this. 0% of construction, 25% of the design. There would be some non-participating features like the city's sewer and water, which is pretty typical with these sorts of projects, that we would be on the hook for 100% of the cost with those. And then I believe also hazardous material cleanup would be 100% city cost. But these are standard things that are just part of the agreement with the state. They put together a rough cost estimate, and so at this point, they've got 11.1 million figured for the entire project, including design and construction. And the city's participation at this point would be around 150,000, so that would be 25% of the design at this point. And the construction year, I believe, was 2030 on that. So we would, given all that, we would recommend that the committee would approve the signing of the agreement.
Thank you. Nick? Any questions? Dennis?
Thank you. The only question I have you looked yet at what type of a detour would this would involve, or is it too early to?
Yeah, this is very preliminary at this point. We have not looked at any of the project specifics. It's mainly just, what would the scope of the project be, concrete, asphalt, what kind of, would we be doing storm sewer work, those sorts of things. And so they kind of throw a cost estimate together based on that. But it's very preliminary at this point, so none of the details, plans, specifications have been looked at this point.
Do you think part of that 8th Street is going to make it till 2030? I mean,
That's the
what-
hope.
I realize
That's the
the
hope,
state
yes.
is running it, but,
Right, right.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would hope that this would be somewhat segmented to try to lessen the impact to the number of businesses on 8th Street. But again, I think we'll take it if we can get it. Unfortunately, it's 2030, but it is greatly needed, so it's good to see it's being addressed finally. Any other questions? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, we are continuously pushing and encouraging that this project gets moved up. So, well, yeah, we're happy that finally we got to the point where we're at after some meetings and things. But yeah, 2030 is a long ways out, and sooner would be better.
Anyone else? Sherry?
Thank you. I'm sure Kyle and Mayor have been in contact as well, but Scott Krug and stuff like that, I mean, are they fighting for us also? Thank you.
Scott knows that pretty much any time he sees me somewhere, he'll point at me and he'll make a comment about talking at 8th Street. So anytime I do see him, I'm continuous. I've made phone calls to the governor's office. We've had meetings with DOT. I know Lance Plemmel at the county has made calls with his connections down at the state. So they're getting it from multiple angles.
Thank you.
Tom?
Real quick, glad to see it's finally moving. I also agree that 2030, if we last that long, we'll be lucky in some places anyway, but so hopefully it can be moved up, but at least I guess the thing is in motion a little bit anyway, so glad to see that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Paul.
So just for a refresher, the other project is from between 2 Mile and Whitrock. to the south city limits, that's scheduled for 2028 construction. And so a lot of the decisions that are made for that section will be incorporated to the north. I said the same sentiments that everybody has said here, that, 1.1 miles in the urban section is a pretty big pill to bite. But that was what they were willing to come up with. So, who knows, there might be some funding sources and things like that they can split the project and move it, like you said, the worst section is the section that is the newest section down by Walmart and things like that. So that is scheduled already in 2028, and they are further along with the design cycle on that than what they are with this project, so.
So what about infrastructure with these projects? You had mentioned the newest down by Walmart. Are we looking at any replacements there? And obviously 2030 with the longer stretch heading north, what are we looking at for improvements along those lines, or has that not really been discussed?
I don't think really anything has been discussed at that yet. The 2028 project is really just coming out of the preliminary design phase. At the same time they sent us this, they sent us what they're proposing for a pavement structure. They're proposing concrete again, instead of asphalt. And so I'm guessing what they'll do, similar to our design projects, is they'll go and assess the current infrastructure. They'll televise the storm sewer. We'll make a decision whether or not the sanitary needs to be replaced or not, and/or maybe it's a candidate for a lining versus a replacement type thing, And Water and Light would also be contacted then too to say, okay, your water was installed whatever in the 80s or 90s, what do you want to do with it type thing. So those are all stages that it's going to come through here the next 2 years or whatever, I'm assuming.
I would assume as we work our way north, there's going to be more and more to be addressed.
Correct. Yep.
Sherry?
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't think my light was on. I know we've all had concerns, and our constituents calling and asking about A Street, and some of the different roads, but a lot of people were asking, well, is it gonna be like it was before, in front of Tractor and Supply, where we've had to have you guys go back out where, the road was terrible with the bumps. Same with Highway 54. With the contractors that do that we're sure that it's a nice, even road on A Street. But is it, do we have anything to say with that? Because, it's the state. I just know I've had some calls on that too, so.
I would assume since it's a DOT design contract, that it's also going to be their contractor and/or consultant that's building it, so.
Anyone else? All right, what are committee's wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the state municipal financial agreement. And a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to vote. All in favor, respond with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. On to item 4, review and consider modifying Chapter 35 post-construction stormwater management zoning specific to peak discharge performance standards in 35.07, parent 3, parent B, parent 2. Nick?
So this is something that we're modifying it, but it's really more of an explanation, a further detailing of the ordinance from where it stands today. And this is just more of just cleaning things up a little bit. So the way Chapter 35 works and the way the DNR works with the way they handle these sites is the same in that they use a 1 acre site as their cutoff. So anything less than an acre, they don't get into a lot of the enforcement of post-construction standards. So whether or not you need a detention pond or, how close you can work within wetlands and a lot of things similar to that. So Our ordinance is structured in the same manner. What we wanted to do is we wanted to update it so that for new sites that were less than an acre, we wanted to further clarify and make sure that these sites would still be held to peak flow enforcement. So downstream storm sewers, creeks, they're not, inundated with extra flow that they shouldn't have to be. So we have certain areas in town that have storm sewer we have restricted flows for. And so this was just calling out a little bit more detail to that. So what we have kind of shown on the referral here is highlighted in yellow, that paragraph C. That's the ordinance the way it sits today. And so it's kind of a catch-all paragraph that refers to the opinion of the city engineer. It allows the city engineer to enforce extra peak flow limits, so runoff, drainage from a site, based on his opinion and where it would be draining to, just to make sure that there's no scouring, there's no erosion, there's not inundating of storm sewers, that sort of thing. So it's kind of a catch-all paragraph. Well, that's where it sits today. What we want to do is basically keep that paragraph and add another paragraph, paragraph C, that we have shown in red, that would basically just refer to a portion that's in the ordinance, just further on in the ordinance, that same chapter, that specifically calls out the protection of some of these storm sewers that have peak flow limits. So that's all it would be doing. It would not change the ordinance effectively so much as just the wording of it, but just to draw extra attention. So we want to keep that paragraph that in yellow is more of a catch-all sort of paragraph, that what we're now calling paragraph D. But we want to add paragraph C in red just to specifically call out these areas that, extra runoff from some of these smaller sites. We wanted to be sure that this would apply to them as well. So we want to say for a site that's less than an acre, look, you're still required to maintain your flow such that you're not inundating our storm sewers. So if a Domino's or somebody comes in, where it's not quite an acre in size, but it's all parking lot, it's all building, it generates a lot of flow, we still want to protect that downstream storm sewer and those downstream creeks. And this would allow us, the old ordinance allowed us to do that. This would further just detail that and kind of more explain the thought behind the ordinance is kind of what we're aiming at. So I guess we have it in here kind of the way we're hoping to have it drawn up, but we're recommending committee approval of these couple of changes here.
Thank you, Nick. Questions, comments? Anyone? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the changes to Chapter 35, Post-Construction Stormwater Management Zoning. I think Sherry beat you. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to vote. All in favor, respond with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Item 5, review the Wisconsin Rapids Rail feasibility study. Nick.
So we were hoping to get this out to everybody a little bit earlier so we could talk a little bit more in detail about it. We did work with Patrick Engineering to try to get the report last week, to try to get it in the packet. We did not get it until this afternoon. So we did email it out to council so everybody can look at it, review it. We're hoping that we can take the next month here between staff, council, look everything over, have a little bit more detailed of a opinion on everything, and then put it on the agenda for next month. And I guess that's kind of the hope for things at this point with the rail study.
Thank you, Nick. Sherry?
Is it it's very in-depth. I know I had to review just the first few pages, but is this something instead of, or that we could have an additional meeting perhaps and just discuss this with staff? I mean, obviously a public meeting, but instead of and then also reviewing it at the next meeting? Is that something that, with the content of it, is that something that would make sense, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, from a staff level, we're fine with, whatever direction you guys want to take. We just wanted a little bit more time to look everything over, and we thought maybe it would make sense just at the next meeting to just, once you've had a chance to look at it and we have, that we can kind of you guys would have more informed questions and we'd be able to answer those questions. So that was the hope, but if there's some interest in meeting ahead of that, we can certainly do that too.
It's a big deal, I understand that, but with that being said, I think taking it through Public Works and then obviously on to the council is the path. Mayor Blazer, you care to chime in on that?
I guess I'm good with whatever the kind of the committee decides on it, and I'm not sure what the best way to go forward is.
What do the rest of the folks here think? Do we need a meeting specific to the feasibility study? Yep.
Oh, that's an idea. And it's very near and dear to many people in the city, so, I think it warrants. Yeah, your microphone too. I think it's very important to the citizens of the Rapids, and businesses, so, another meeting or a meeting alone, might be worthwhile to give people an opportunity to just focus in on just the rail study.
I guess what my intention, I thought maybe, I didn't know how in-depth picking it apart would be, like with our committee and staff. So I just thought, if we have other stuff on our next month agenda in March, if this is gonna take 2 or 3 hours instead of making it such a long meeting, that maybe we could just have a specific meeting just to dissect this with us, obviously, and then still, yes, go to, maybe have a committee of the whole, so it's primarily just kind of discussing this at a later date after we've went through it. That's all I was insinuating, is that I just didn't know, when we're reviewing this report, like you said, there's how many pages, if it would make sense to have just a separate meeting, but, I mean, we can discuss it in March. I don't know what else is on our agenda next month. That's all I was referring. Thank you.
No, I think that's a valid point, Sherry. And I think it's probably the route we should take. So is that something that we need to refer, or can we just set up a meeting, or thoughts?
You can call a meeting anytime.
Yeah, a committee of the whole meeting, so.
Oh, yeah.
Microphone.
We could, oh, sorry. Yeah, we could probably put one together. Would you want to have it before council next month, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, we could put something together.
Okay.
Before council, but after public, or before Public Works as well. After Public Works, before council.
After Public Works, before council, I think that makes sense.
Okay, I'll talk to you and we'll put together a good date.
Okay. And then maybe a press release stating the contents of that meeting?
Yeah, my office can take care of that.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll reach out to Jennifer and talk about a date.
Anything else on the feasibility study? Hearing none, we'll move to item 6, review the referral list. Let's see. So 11 can come off. I think 10 as well, right?
Mr. Chair, on item number 12, I know it's on the agenda coming up in a few days, I believe. Or Mayor, that's an ongoing thing. Is there any movement or, I mean, something just to keep that on this agenda, just keep picking away at it?
Is item 12 Barron?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard it. The last update I heard that it's in the litigator's hand right now, and so I haven't heard if, I have not seen a copy being sent over to us yet. I'll have to ask the city attorney, but, for her review before it's submitted.
Thank you.
Really, it's in place as a placeholder in case we need to have a meeting. I don't know if it's necessary to be on there. That's my thought. Rest of the committee, should we strike it? Leave it?
I think it's being discussed, so I don't think we really need to keep it on there. Mayor, I don't know what you think. I don't-
I think the purpose of the referral is so we don't forget about it, and I think that's one of the items that I don't think any of us are really gonna forget.
Yeah, agreed. So we can take off 10, 11, and 12. We'll leave 13. 15 can be striked. So can 16.
How is number 18 moving along? I don't know, Mayor, have you had any, or Paul, or the overnight extended parking for semi-trucks? Who's working on that? I don't know if any.
I
Not
believe
sure.
planning and zoning is working on that
Yeah.
currently. I haven't checked in with them for a while on it, so, but it is ongoing.
I mean, I know a lot of, I think semi-traffic park over, what is that spot over, where, next to the mall, or where the mall used to be in that lot? Where the car wash was, I can't
Oh,
think of
yeah.
what. Yeah, farther down, I know a lot of semi-trucks are parking there, which is fine, it's not a residential area, but, I mean.
YMCA owned property, I believe.
Is it? Okay.
Dennis?
Back on that 18, are we talking about trucks with the trailers or just the truck
Yeah,
parking?
no, it is trucks with the trailers as well. Yep.
I thought the city had, that it was discussed quite a few years ago that this was not a problem. Has this become a problem now, or?
Yeah, it came to our attention, I want to say maybe in December, where we got a call from a trucker telling us that the West Side Quick Trip allowed truckers to park there for extended periods of time, and they recently, I don't know if there was an incident, but they shut it down, and they said that, because of that they were really lacking places in the area to park their semis. So he was hoping if we could do something to at least look into it and see what alternatives the city could come up with, so.
But doesn't the city allow the truck drivers to park in their own driveway? I thought that was taken care of quite a few years ago. Or has something changed?
Right, I think it's more with the trailer, that sort of thing, that they can't park on the street kind of indefinitely.
Right, and I think that was the problem years ago, but, okay.
And I think a lot of it too is, the truckers come to town, well, they're 2 or 3 days early or whatever, and they want a place where they can drop their trailer. I mean, because that's all they have for mobility is their tractor. So, I mean, if somewhere where they could park their trailer so they can go conduct business within the city, I think that was primarily where this was kind of headed, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, anything else for referrals? Any to add? Tom?
I think just to go along with that, Ryan, I'm not quite sure what to say, but I think, it's not, to be, I guess, somewhat to help out, I guess, where to park or something is maybe one thing for the city to be involved in, but then again, is it the city's responsibility to provide parking for truck traffic like that? And is it the city's responsibility to for somebody that has a job, is it the city's responsibility to provide parking for that person who brings the truck home all the time? I question that if is the city's responsibility to do. If there's some way that we could help out with that, there'd be a certain location maybe that they could do something, that would be one thing, but you know, it's the job of who has the job, but it's a trucking company, whoever, if they're affiliated with some, you know, over-the-road company or a company that's close by or whatever, you know, and I wouldn't want to get into that. Somebody could drop it off at where the business is, but it's more convenient to take it home. So they have the truck in the yard, so they don't have to take their own vehicle to where the truck would be. So I just, through the discussion, I hope that's all, would be all looked at, that it's not, I don't think it's really the problem or, you know, a big, that the city is liable of where we park things. We have, if they can park there. So it does, you know, somewhat go together, but also for us to find a place for these, you know, maybe one of these other gas stations or something, everyone on their property to drop trucks or something, that'd be something, so, but I just had to make some comments, I wasn't quite sure what to say, so hopefully that made a little bit of sense, but, okay, thank you.
Oh, I can agree with that sentiment too, and honestly, I assume this is referring to the West Side Quick Trip, the property that's to the north. They were letting some parking happen there. We all know that eventually that property will be reworked. Seems to be getting pushed back, but you know, I too would be hesitant to provide such an area or a designated area for these activities. So, Sherry.
And I agree as well, and I don't know how, the specifics of how it got here, but I mean, I know my husband was a truck driver for many years, and, you know, they can't just park their load. I mean, they're responsible for that load, so it's not like they're just gonna be parking it there for a week or, you know, I mean, it would, I think, just somewhere for a day or so, but no, I agree. I don't think cities should buy property so they can park there, but, so I'm not sure what that intention was, but I don't know if it was maybe a code or something like that, that we had where, you know, they couldn't park somewhere, but I mean, most of the time it's gonna be on a private business anywheres. I mean, I know our CH is accommodating, you know, to different truck drivers. If they're overnight, they don't have anywhere, you know, to go. I know that they've done that as well, so I mean, I don't think the intention was to buy city property for that, but I just didn't know if it was something in the, you know, an ordinance or something like that, but thank you.
So just to confirm what Dennis was saying, so I'm just not close enough to it, sorry. So tractors are allowed to be in driveways, but not trailers, is that correct? Okay. Pardon?
And I believe no running or reefer all night either.
Anything else on referrals? All right, we'll move to item 7, which is set the next meeting date. So it looks like we could either do the 2nd or the 9th. Well, we want to do the first full week, the 9th?
Depending, if we're gonna meet on the 9th and council's the 21st, and we're gonna scooch in a committee of the whole, is that enough time to? I don't know. It's up to everybody else, I guess.
We can bump it to the 2nd. That doesn't bother me, as long as it. Sure. Are we able to confirm council chambers are available 5 o'clock, March 2nd?
We'll have to double check that.
Okay. So assuming so,
At 5?
5 PM.
So we're shooting for the 2nd?
Yes. Okay. Item 8, adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.